But look, let's move on now to the UK, where the glitz and glamour of our King's coronation was subverted by this.
We've gone from the rich diversity of the Abbey to a terribly white balcony. I'm very struck by that. I'm also looking at those younger generations and thinking, what are the nuances that they will inhabit as they grow?
And here in Australia, we had our own issues with out-of-control commentary. Have a listen to Stan Grant and this panel on the ABC weighing in.
They were at the heart of the dispossession of the stolen land of our First Nations people and of massacres and attempted genocide in this country and others. That's really important.
The Australia with an Indigenous heritage, a British foundation and the migrant richness of the migrant experience is a lovely idea. I don't know where that Australia is. We haven't lived in that Australia.
You know, they talk about genocide. You know, they talk about crimes against humanity, which they are now recognised as. But this may well be the start of a different Australia and the end of the final element of the British Empire.
As a result of the Crown establishing institutions here, Australia itself was founded, or at least New South Wales and the colonies, founded as penal colonies. So it's about time we absolutely start to imagine First Nations peoples at the front and centre of our nation. You know, abolishing prisons for one, because those are also outdated in this colony.
Daisy, keen to bring you in here. What were your thoughts on this incident over in the UK? It's triggered thousands of complaints to the media watchdog over there. Do you think it was out of line?
I just think it was silly. And the reason I say that the comment was silly, I mean, look, it's not unexpected. We always sadly expect, you know, woke racial agitators to throw those kinds of comments around. But she was making a comment about the family on the balcony happening to be all white. That's because ancestrally they come from an Anglo-Saxon white line of people. What did she want them to do? Like, you know, bring in actors pretending to be distant members of the royal family and put them on the balcony who weren't white? I mean, it was a strange, just silly comment to make. And I know she tried to backtrack on it the next day. She said she didn't mean to upset anyone. It was just, oh, I don't know, perhaps a shock going from that very, very inclusive coronation. But I just think, why mention that in that context? I understand people have opinions, people are entitled to their opinions, people are allowed to say what they want to say, but do you really have to use the coronation to air those grievances, particularly with that kind of comment, which just made no genetic sense?
Sophie, it was also quite clearly racist. It was a negative connotation attributed to somebody's race just because that race happened to be white. I don't think that sidesteps the issue was racist, but the regulator still hasn't announced whether they're investigating thousands and thousands of complaints. It's a bit inappropriate that they pick and choose those cases, isn't it?
Well, it's quite astounding, Jack, to have thousands of complaints and not determine that an investigation is necessary. I don't really, cannot really comprehend that. But it appears if you make comments about white people, it seems to be acceptable. But if it was the roles were reversed and comments were made by a white person about someone of colour, I think we'd see a pretty swift action by the British regulator to do something. So I thought that was an appalling piece of television and something that they should look at.
And Sophie, I'm also keen to hear your thoughts on Stan Grant's performance and I guess the broader ABC decision to turn this into a discussion about colonisation.
Jack, that 1 hour of TV leading into the coronation by the ABC was one of their most disgraceful, moments in their television history, where it was just an absolute pile-on the British monarchy. It was absolutely ripping this country's history to shreds. And yes, there are some parts of our history that are not great. No one's denying that. But the ABC appeared to use this as a moment in time to pile on the British monarchy, pile on the British who came to Australia, and it was just an hour of hate fest. It was an absolutely disgraceful editorial decision to have such a lopsided panel. And might I add, all of those people on that panel in that hour of television were supporters of The Voice. Surprise, surprise, the ABC has no balance, and they're run by a group of people who appear to have no gauge on what balance and impartiality is, because that was a 1 hour of television that I think should go down as really quite disgraceful.
Yeah, and they've had a number of complaints already, so we'll see how that plays out and how they respond.